We felt we could build a cool consumer product and, more importantly, a great consumer brand around a first of its kind smart running shoe in a way that I think it's much more difficult to do that around a gadget or an accessory.
Breaking stasis is one of my favorite topics. I love talking with entrepreneurs. I love talking with people who have taken the leap from something comfortable or something predictable into chaos or the unknown, or maybe not chaos, but a new road. You come to a fork and you have the left side, which is, what the path looks like and it's predictable and whatnot. And the right side is, you can't even see it. And you don't know what's going to be a quarter mile down the road, let alone 10 miles down the road. How did you take that right turn?
I think that's such a good question, because it's not the first time that I had an idea or a desire to go and build something new. It had happened before in my life. I think, was very fortunate to grow up with amazing parents. And in particular, my dad is a serial entrepreneur. So I was around entrepreneurship, but I can't really explain why this time was the time that I actually decided to go all in. I think it was probably a combination of things. Honestly, I think it was just the right time in my life too. Like in the past, when I hadn't made the leap, I kind of felt bad about myself after. Like, am I not motivated enough? Am I lazy? Like, why can't I commit to this thing? Like, what's wrong with me? Am I ever going to make that leap? Maybe it's not right for me. Maybe I'm not meant to be an entrepreneur. But then, this thing happened and I was waking up every morning and it's the only thing I could think about. Like, I didn't want to think about anything else. I wanted to think about this. And I think it was also the point in my life where I had been working at a startup for 7 years at that point. And it felt like I finally had the confidence in myself and my experience and skills and abilities to say, like, maybe I don't have all the answers. I definitely don't, but I know enough to know that there's nothing more special about the other people that have done this than me. And I'm fully capable of doing it. And I don't know why that point in my life was the point where I finally felt that way. So I think it was just like self-confidence that was probably generated by a range of things. But at that point in my life, I was confident enough to make the leap.
And what happened next?
I wrote a business plan kind of nights and weekends and ran it by a bunch of people. It became real enough that I was like, if I'm going to do this, I have to be 110% in it. So I spoke with my boss, who and I told him it was not an easy conversation, honestly, because he had been and still is an amazing mentor for me. I told him that I wanted to go off and do this thing, and he was incredibly supportive. And yeah, that was it. So at the end of 2022, I left. And January 2023, I was full-time working on Avelo, and I kind of just started. You don't really know what to do. You just start.
You can just do things, as they say on the internet.
Yeah. You just do what you think is best that day and that week, and things build.
Talk to me about the startup process. I'm fascinated by fundraising and advisors and investors, and like, how did you know what to do?
Honestly, I don't know that I did. No, seriously, I think I just took action. I mean, you said action leads to motivation, not the other way around. So, and things developed in ways that I couldn't have predicted or expected then, but really I just took action. So, I didn't have anything. So, I'll give you a few examples. I read an article about the future of running shoes. And it was talking about how the Vaporfly and carbon fiber plated racing shoes were leading to greater performance, but maybe not so good for injury and injury risk. And we're not sure. And there was a guy who was quoted in that article. His name is Dr. Chris Napier. And he was quoted, and he basically said and described the exact thing that I was working on building. Like, maybe the future of running shoes isn't so much about the running shoe itself preventing injury, but about technology in the shoe that can give you feedback that we lost when we covered our shoes in these highly cushioned shoes. It was that could actually maybe help with injury and performance. I was like, holy crap, like that's exactly what I'm doing. So I emailed him and he responded to me. And he joined as an advisor, our first scientific advisor. He's a PhD in biomechanics. Again, Dr. Chris Napier. He's up at Simon Fraser University, one of the leading researchers in the field of running-related injury, running biomechanics. He's also a physical therapist. And like all of a sudden, I've got this amazing person on my team who I can work with to build this product. It also adds credibility, right? So like just that one step of emailing him, like who knows if he would respond to me, but he did. I just, thank God. That happened a few times. Like I just cold messaged people on LinkedIn and they responded and they would introduce me to another person who would introduce me to one person I got introduced to who was my eventual co-founder. The reason I got introduced to my co-founder is because I cold emailed one person on LinkedIn who became an advisor, who introduced me to another person who became an advisor. That advisor introduced me to my co-founder. So again, like things just happen. You just have to take action, and you don't really know what's going to happen, but you just have to put one foot in front of the other and keep going. And I mean, it sounds really cliche, but honestly, that's what happened.
Kind of like running.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is Avelo?
Avelo is...
You better nail this part.
I know, right? I've been practicing for 2 years and 3 months for this moment. It's the company behind the world's first smart running shoe. And what we've built is exactly that. A shoe that's embedded with a sensor, a proprietary sensor in the foam, and it measures running form and it measures impact. And then it connects to an app that coaches every runner to improve their performance, reduce their risk of injury, and accomplish whatever their running goal is.
So a lot of the feedback that you've heard is probably along the lines of, doing shoes is hard. Doing software is hard. You're choosing to do both. You've answered this question a million times. Why both? Why not just another sensor in the shoe with better analytics?
Yeah, I mean, we're actually building three challenging things: footwear, software, and hardware, and doing them all at the same time. And we talked about this a lot as a company in the early days. Does it make sense to start with just software? Can we do it with just hardware? And we landed on the full thing. Even though it's the hardest, that's what we think is the right approach, the best one for runners at the end of the day. We think it has to be frictionless and easy to use. Fundamentally, like that's number one. The best wearable technology is that, right? So the analogy that my co-founder Peter uses all the time, and I think it's perfect. Think about the number of runners that you know. You're kind of in a unique bubble being over there, but the number of runners overall who wear, for example, a strap on their chest to get heart rate.
A lot.
Versus,
well, now it's on the bicep, but yeah.
Yeah, but the majority of runners outside maybe of your bubble.
In Boulder, yeah.
In Boulder.
I mean, here it's like the Suntos or the Koros strap is on like 40%.
I'm sure. I haven't tried it yet, but the majority of runners are just relying on their smartwatch. Even if the chest strap might be a little more accurate or the armband might be a little more accurate. And that's because it's simple. It's frictionless. You're already wearing a watch. It became smart. Okay, great. I don't really have to change my behavior very much. It's not another gadget or accessory I got to remember to put on and fidget with. And
charge,
it's comfortable.
Yeah.
I get sweaty. Yeah, I got to remember to charge it, right? So like all these little things that you think are little, but they add up to create an experience that's just not seamless, not frictionless. And for some runners, they're willing to do that. But for most, either they're willing to do it for a very short period of time, or they're not willing to do it at all. Not to mention the extra money you have to spend on it in addition to all the other gear you got to buy, right? So making it frictionless was really important. And the best way to do that in the case of technology that you want to be on the feet is to embed it seamlessly in the shoe. So not create a pod that you put on your shoelaces, which there's technology out there that does that. It's great technology. Or create an insole that you have to, again, like it's another gadget accessory, move from shoe to shoe, calibrate, charge. Just build a shoe and make it so that all you have to do, just like you did yesterday in your Not Smart shoes, is put the shoe on and start running. And you don't have to do anything else. It just starts tracking automatically. It stops tracking automatically. You never have to charge it because the battery lasts for the life of the entire shoe, and it's frictionless. So that was the way that we felt was the best way to create a frictional experience. That was number one. The second reason is not maybe is, I don't know, smart. It's just running shoes are cool. So we felt we could build a cool consumer product and more importantly, a great consumer brand around a first of its kind smart running shoe in a way that I think it's much more difficult to do that around a gadget or an accessory.